Yo, what's up, everybody? Today we're taking a deep dive into a situation that's been quietly building beneath the surface of the West Coast for more than a decade. We're talking about the complicated, mostly unspoken, and now increasingly visible tension between two of Compton's biggest names, The Game and Kendrick Lamar. For years, fans have wondered whether there was real tension between these two LA heavyweights. On the surface, they're two brothers who came from the same streets, but behind the scenes, the politics run much deeper than music. We're talking alleged studio exclusions, West Coast torch-passing moments that didn't sit well with everybody, and one particular superstar from Toronto who may have been the final spark that set everything off. Today, we're walking through the timeline, the accusations of hypocrisy, and why the 100 music video may have changed the dynamic around the West Coast in a major way. This is the breakdown of the tension between The Game and K-Dot. To understand how things reached this point, you have to understand where the relationship began. Both of these men are Compton through and through. Back then, their relationship appeared to be strong. We're talking nearly 15 years ago when West Coast legends, including Snoop and Corrupt, stood on stage and passed the West Coast torch to a young Kendrick Lamar. The Game was standing right there on that same stage too, showing support for the generation coming up behind him.
Honestly, I think The Game wanted to diss Kendrick a long time ago, man, but he handed that nigga the crown. There's so much gang politics in there. He can't, I don't think on some, I hate you but I think that Game always felt that Kendrick took the crown and never gave him, never paid homage to him, like how other elders get it. I think he always wanted to challenge Kendrick, just maybe even lyrically. But I think the way the politics is set up in LA, it just wouldn't be that. It couldn't just be some lyrical shit on wax. They're both, have gang ties. Even if you want to say Kendrick's not a gang member, but, the whole TDE, they're bloods. And I think he's just always been in this really lame duck position where he seems like he's begging for acceptance from Kendrick. And I'm like, dog, how are you begging for acceptance to a nigga you passed the torch to?
At the time, it looked like a powerful moment of unity for the city. But lately, people close to the situation have suggested that not everybody who was there that night was completely comfortable with how things played out. Yo, this is getting crazy. Let's break it down. Before Kendrick became a local superstar, Game was viewed as something of an OG to him, almost like a mentor who came from those same streets. But as Kendrick Lamar climbed to heights that very few artists in hip-hop ever reach, that relationship began to change. TDE talent manager Akeem Smith recently hinted that the backstory between these two runs much deeper than the Drake situation. He brought up stories claiming that Game was outside Dr. Dre's studio trying to get his freestyles heard and records cleared, while doors allegedly stayed closed or locks were being changed. Stanquo has also claimed that Dre was considering shelving Game at one point. Yo, that's wild. If those accounts are accurate, the roots of the resentment may have been growing inside those studio walls long before the public ever knew about it. Now, let's get to the moment many insiders point to as the real turning point. In 2015, The Game released 100 featuring Drake. The two filmed the music video right in the middle of Compton. Think about that for a second. Drake, who would eventually become one of Kendrick's biggest rivals, was standing on Kendrick's home turf alongside West Coast OGs. Yo, that was definitely a moment. Then there's the line Drake delivers on the track. "I would have all your fans if I didn't go pop and I stayed on some conscious." A lot of people interpreted that as a direct sneak diss aimed at Kendrick's conscious rap image, and looking back now, it's easy to see why people took it that way. Top Dog, the head of TDE, reportedly made it clear that Kendrick didn't simply stop communicating with Game without a reason. He reportedly pointed to that Compton video as the moment that shifted the relationship. According to StatQuo, Top communicated to Game's camp that they weren't happy about bringing Drake into the neighborhood to film a video while he was allegedly sending shots toward Kendrick, the city's favorite son. Game has apparently said that he didn't realize Kendrick took the situation personally at the time, but in hindsight, he says he can understand where Kendrick was coming from. But here's where Game turns the argument around. He's pointing to what he believes is a serious double standard. Game's argument is pretty straightforward. If Kendrick was upset with him for working alongside Drake, then why did Kendrick later work with one of Game's biggest rivals? Back in 2018, Kendrick appeared on 50 Cent's hit television series Power, playing the character Laces.
He reiterated that to me on the phone, that he didn't know that Kendrick felt the way about that. He reiterated it, but now he said in retrospect he could see and understand it. But guess what? This is the bomb. This is one of the bombshells I'm going to drop here today. But he said when Kendrick did Power, and this is what he said: when Kendrick did Power, and they knew that 50 Cent was his arch nemesis, he didn't feel away.
Game says he actually enjoyed Kendrick's performance on the show, and he didn't take it personally because he wasn't searching for a reason to get angry. Fans online are divided over this one. Some argue that appearing on a television show isn't the same as bringing a rival rapper into your actual neighborhood for a music video. Others believe Game has a legitimate point. If loyalty is a currency, then it should have the same value for everybody. But critics are quick to point out that Kendrick didn't use his Power appearance to diss Game, while Drake clearly used 100 to take a shot at Kendrick. The tension gets even more complicated when you start looking at the smaller details. There's a story Top Dawg allegedly brought up involving a J-Rock music video shoot from years ago. According to the story, some members of the TDE crew went over to Game's house to film a segment. Game allegedly wore a mask during the shoot, saying that his label or someone around him told him he couldn't show his face. But then just 2 weeks later, he allegedly appeared in a Hurricane Chris video with his face fully visible. The TDE camp reportedly viewed those little decisions as a lack of genuine support or some questionable behavior. And yeah, looking back, it is kind of strange that he was moving that way at the time. Then there's Game's cryptic presence on social media. He recently left a mysterious comment under an Instagram post that appeared to criticize Kendrick for not returning the same support Game says he showed him early in his career. He wrote, "These ninjas aren't who you think they are. One day I'm going to pull the curtain down so you can see every clown in their circus." While Game has been willing to speak publicly, Kendrick has stayed consistent with his reputation. Complete silence. Not a word, not a subliminal, nothing. It's a situation involving one man who appears willing to address the issue and another who seems to have completely removed himself from the conversation. So, here we are. More than a decade of speculation, subliminal shots, and conflicting stories coming from people around Compton. Is this a relationship that could still be repaired with a handshake, or has simply too much time gone by, and has too much damage already been done? With the Kendrick and Drake battle still relatively fresh in everyone's memory, that being the last major rap rivalry to dominate the culture, the pressure seems to be on Game to choose a side. But he appears to be standing firmly on his own, viewing himself as the West Coast OG who was pushed to the outside. I want to leave you with a few questions to think about. Is Kendrick being too sensitive about the Drake video, or was Game's decision genuinely a violation of the street code? Does Game have a legitimate argument about the 50 Cent double standard, or is he fighting an old battle that nobody else is interested in anymore? And finally, will we ever see these two stand on the same stage in the hub city again? Or is the curtain truly closed on this relationship? Let us know what you think in the comments, man. Is this really beef, or is it simply business? Keep it locked on All Urban Central.